This remind me of Lagini, man, when I was living there. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Focus on Liberia. We're going to be discussing business, finance, and economics on our show, which is the FOL Marketplace. Our topic today is the economic impact of the coronavirus, and we're going to be giving you some financial tips that are very necessary during this time of uncertainty. With the panic and everyone quarantined, movement slow or stopped, we want to see what we can do financially. So I want you to invite your friends, share the show, and let's discuss. This is COVID-19 season, but we're not going to cower to coronavirus. We are still here broadcasting, and we want to enlighten our people about the economic impact of this pandemic and what we can do financially. With me to discuss this, I have Mr. William Thomas Benarkin. William, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you, Dennis. Thank you.
Also, also joining us on the phone from Texas is economist Depu Zuo. Mr. Zuo, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you so much, Dennis, and it's good to be back again.
That is good. To our viewers across the globe, this is Focus on Liberia. Our topic, as you can see on the screen, the economic impact of COVID-19 and what we can do when it comes to our finance. At this time, I go to William, who's first going to read our disclaimer, and then we go into it.
Thank you, Dennis. For all of our folks, thanks for joining us. Just a good, quick disclaimer and something to add in there. As you see, Dennis Jha has practicing safety. He's using his elbow to cough into. For me, I have a very hard time as an old habit. You say use your hands, so it's kind of hard for me to break that. The Focus on Liberia, the content is for informational purpose only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained on our media or written documents constitute a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by Focus on Liberia or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments in this or in any other jurisdiction in which such media material may be shared. All content on this site is information of a general nature and does not address the circumstances of any particular individual or entity. Nothing in the media constitutes professional or financial advice, nor does any information on the platform constitute a comprehensive or complete statement of the matters discussed or the law related thereto. So, in so many words, what we are saying is please consult with your financial advisor, your tax advisor, and so forth before making any kind of investment or financial decisions. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Let
Yes,
me say that
the
again.
thing about it is that
Hold on, Depu. My question to you is, as part of our water cooler, is just generally how is COVID-19 where you live?
yes, I think for the state of Texas, in proportion to the population, I think it's not that bad for now. Realistically, one of the things that is good to look at it is devastating across the country and across the globe as a whole. And sometimes when you hear the number, you get scared. But for now, with the state of Texas, we still have we have challenges, but not that bad. Uh, to be specific, in San Antonio, where I live, we have more cases too. And most of these things are travel related. A few are community based issues. So we think that when we take precaution, it's going to help. It's going to help tremendously.
Mr. King, you are there in California. How is it there? And how are your kids? Everybody doing?
Oh, thank you so much. California is very interesting. As you know, we've issued basically a lot of things closed down, come to a ground halt. Yesterday, they closed the beach to encourage people to stay away, and also I believe they did some fumigation. What's interesting is that, of course, some stores are open, like the Home Depot. I'm doing a renovation on one of my units, so when we go there to the Home Depot or Target or anything, they've put X and different things on the ground, kind of maintain like a 6-foot distance, and also they try to limit the amount of people that can go into the store at the same time, and how we go about it, conduct different businesses and so forth. We are a land of freeways, and the freeway has been open, so we really get a chance to appreciate the transportation design. Yes, thank you. Thank you very much. So, as you know, in California, it's a large state. We at one of the forefronts with this coronavirus thing. The mayor recently, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, they closed all beaches. Before it was just closing the parking spots to kind of limit it, but now they've said we're going to close the beaches completely. So that's what's been going on. Most of the stores that are non-essential have been closed. Of course, Home Depot is a little bit different because workers need to work. So you still have some operations in terms of people doing some construction at a low scale. I myself doing a renovation. I've had to make trips to Home Depot. They exercise the 6-foot distance to limit the amount of people that go into the store at the same time. When interacting with the cashier, it's a little bit of a distance transaction, just to kind of maintain that. A lot of folks have the hand sanitizer and so forth. The freeways are open. You get a chance to experience the beauty of a California freeway system, which was designed so that you could get from one point to the next within the most 45 minutes. And so trips that would take you maybe 45 minutes take you maybe 17, 18 minutes. So that's been interesting. But a lot of folks are home. I'm home with my wife and my kid. So it makes for a very interesting time being around each other for so long. So we are trying.
Thank you, William. So let's go to Liberia. I think one of those things we saw during the Senate hearing of those appointed to the NEC was people they have masks on conducting the hearing. So somebody said, "Wait now, it force Depu." So what's your take on the Senate hearing with the social distancing and covering their mouths?
Yes, but I think for me, when I saw it, I was wondering, but it's another precaution, but it's for the public gathering of such. I don't think that you needed to have room marks. If the distance had already been created by the seating. Are you hearing me? Okay, the seating arrangement already is clear by distance more than 6 feet, and that itself is very much good enough for us to accept that than to be using the marks. But the thing that people need to understand is that wearing that in the hall is a good way to say the leaders are wearing masks, but what happened to the common people in the community, in the society? Do you have enough so that it will protect them, that they will be using it? And what are some of the consequences of the decision of the leaders going to session with a mask? So these are some of the things that we need to be looking at. I think our best option there is to create a distance, make sure that our people are taking precaution, and that itself will help the citizen. besides the health component of that issue, I wasn't able to follow the entire process, but I went in briefly to listen to the co-chair. But I'm not yet impressed with the presentation of the co-chair, who has actually been so far now among the five, the nominees. She's the most experienced and who been in the system before. And her information did not really come clear of the knowing the responsibility and the challenges therein. So these are some of the basic things that I pick. If I had time to listen from start to end, I would be impressed. But to have said that 2017 election, she traveled, she go there. So you as a commissioner, you've been on the commission. The commission is a team. Wherever you travel, you come by, you say fine report. It should be a well-informed person than what I heard from her. But all in all, I think the best security, the best precaution that a Senate can take for Liberian people now is to talk to the president and review the budget and see how best they can make appropriation for public health and safe and security of the people right now. It's not to just wear masks and go around with it. I look at it from a very radical perspective yesterday. I told one of the lawmakers the best thing they can do now around the world, people, whether they have the economy is functional or not, people are now sacrificing to make available some money for the poor people and to take care of their citizens. They should now, while they are doing the recasting of the budget, and they need to call the Minister of Finance and to discuss. If it calls the lawmaker to say we're giving 20%, 40% of our income, and just roll that out to MPhil budget now and make sure that MPhil reach to communities and also take care of people, that would be far better than to say they are going to be having the max. It's more of exuberance of power and wealth and all of these things. So that's how I look at
it. William, briefly before we go into our main topic, your comments on the Senate hearing with the masks and the social distancing.
I think that for Liberia, we always have a very difficult challenge with that because we are very social people. We already in a place of I guess economic challenges, and you feel like there's more freedom that is being taken away from you with some of these things. So I think that it is necessary. We have a hard time, but it's something that needed to be had. And there's mixed reviews, but at the end of the day, I think that our government is doing the best they can. Even we're having these kind of hearings. Look, this is not a pleasant conversation, especially when you are hearing it from a government that you had high expectations and hope for, and you don't feel that they've been delivering on it, and now you feel they're asking you to do more. So I think it's just tough, but it's important because no one has the ability to really come to our aid right now. So,
All right. Thank you, William. So today our discussion, the economic impact of COVID-19 and financial tips. So we're going to do it like that. We're going to talk about the global economy, the U.S. economy, and then the Liberian economy. So we're going to break it down, feel free. Let's start with the global economy, what has been the impact. We talk about U.S., where we are, and then we go to Liberia. After we've exhausted that, then we can give some financial tips, how we can go about this. So let's get the ball rolling. I know there's been impact. Deputy, tell me if there's not been.
The whole word serious impact, the whole word I would call a serious recession because production had declined across the globe, and it's not fun, and there's no way that you can say that the economy booming anywhere. So this is the first I ever heard about in world history. That, in fact, even United States talk about $2.2 trillion rescue, and that itself is just something that is yet an estimate of what is anticipated. We don't know if this thing. Uh, my assumption is that that projection was done a few weeks ago when we're thinking that they will contain the virus in 2 3 weeks, or let's say 3 weeks plan was made. But as we go now, it's likely that as the fight intensify, it might go beyond a month or two. So it will even cost more than 2.2 trillion for business. A lot of businesses will have to be closed down, and individual, even the people who go home, their ability to have saving to take care of themselves while they are stay home before they receive a stimulus package is another thing. Even if the stimulus package happen to come, household consumption, and you don't know the capacity of individual household, so that is going to be a serious constraint on the economy. Many companies when their people get sick, they quarantine them, and that will be extra costs on the company, and therefore the profit margin also reduced, even if they try to maintain their operation. So it's going to be a tough fight. One of the things that I told one of my American colleagues last night is that there's a need now for Americans to think more proactively about other things and change the lifestyle. People will now adjust their lifestyle and say, all of the comfort and everything, some of the things have to be reduced to the extent that in terms of the food intake, in terms of electricity, energy consumption, everything, people have to really change it and say, I must live certain way so that I can live for my family. And that's a risk about it. So it's enormous. You're talking about UK, the economy is down now. Most of the powerful economy around the world are all been shaken. China alone, I would just take China. When this whole thing started in China, China decided not to export, and even then domestic production turned to decline. What happened? You see the contraction. It led to so many challenges around the world. Then we're talking about United States now. You're talking about UK. You're talking about, in fact, Germany, the rest of Australia. All these bigger economies are all being hit. So it's a serious. I don't know what they saw. The fear alone, anxiety and all, will lead to many deaths and company owners, CEOs, and other things. We don't know what might happen. If you hear about company collapsing 2-3 months from now, you don't know what might happen. A hospital manager, a doctor in the hospital happened to die. What happened to the entire patient? So there was it's chaotic to me. I think this is very much. I don't know if the Bible will say, I don't know what is the end time or what is it, but I can't really define it right now.
Sometimes they say it's not. It's only end time when it reaches America. But let me hear from William on the economic impact.
Well, we don't have enough time on this show to kind of go into some big depth about certain things globally. But one thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about the bond market and the ability for some African governments that are into this market. Do they have the ability to make good and to make payments on these bonds and so forth? And right now, there's some serious problems, and there's some anticipations that they're probably gonna be either missing certain payments or not being able to make certain payments. Now, to give you an idea of what that means, it means basically that countries like Zambia, Angola, Nigeria, Ghana, they'll have a hard time paying debt and paying these bond debt. Now, they're anticipating a 3 to 4% drop right now in their output, and that is huge. because although to the world these are still considered maybe poor countries, in Africa on the continent, these are some of our major players. Of course, South Africa is not there, but Angola, Nigeria, Ghana, these are major players. And they've already began talks with the IMF to say that, hey, you know what? It's not looking like we'll be able to kind of pay some of these debts right now. Can we restructure and so forth? Now, um, the good thing about this, and I always like to make comparison, is that our brothers and sisters in South America, Venezuela, Argentina, and Lebanon, they've already started to default on their sovereign bonds. So, we had spoken before in past about Argentina, about some of these countries, how they access the sovereign bond market or the bond market, and they use it for development. And sometimes things do not go as planned, and they run into default. And although they run into default, there's always an economic rescue package there available for them. So in this situation with the coronavirus, it will be interesting to see what kind of package is available. Now, when you take these countries, West Africa, countries in Africa that I mentioned, Zambia, Angola, Nigeria, Ghana, and South America, Venezuela, Argentina, Lebanon. What I think is that, in so many words, that Liberia, if we're going through economic challenges and difficulties, definitely we shouldn't feel any type of way when we go and approach the IMF or some of these other organizations and ask for some kind of relief from the global level, because the coronavirus, it's a global impact.
And that's global. Let's see if we have some numbers on this global impact, and what really we know that a lot of areas have been impacted, but what are we reading, Mr. Zood? Okay.
Let me give you some examples. For example, so I mentioned earlier that there's a group. So the group of finance ministers, they're confronting a 2 to 3% decline on average in their projected economic growth, and that was on March 19th. So they requested a waiver about $44 billion in interest payment on the sovereign bond and public debt for 2020. They're also seeking an emergency stimulus package of $100 billion to counter the economic impact of the virus. So that's to kind of give you a little bit of a number on the number scale, and that's very huge for Africa. $100 billion. That's a lot of money. Yeah.
Mr. Zulu, got some numbers for us?
Well, I can give you, I like I said, Dennis, and you have to kind of keep me honest with the time, right, and everything like that to go on and on. But remember, we're in the emerging markets. So we do about emerging markets. They want to borrow about 122 billion. So I give you Ghana is considered emerging market, Nigeria, Angola, some of those places, and so forth. Okay. And so, we access those facilities, 122.6 billion, bonds last year. So that's 2019. So that was up from 63.3 billion in 2009. So nearly $24 billion of emerging market dollar-denominated bonds are set to mature this year. So, when they say maturity, what that means is that the payment is due. So $24 billion has to be paid. And most of these economies, what they do, they'll pay some of it in cash, and then the rest, they're going to kind of do like a refinance, right? So they refinance the rest into like a bigger bond, because they still show that they are paying. So those are quite good when you're able to pay. So you just have to understand these things. And I just want to stay in the bond and the debt, because when you talk about that, it stimulates the entire economy. And not to keep it too confusing for everyone, but government borrows money to keep the economy running. And right now, if they're not able to pay, that means that either they're going to get charged a premium, they're going to go into default, and so forth. But the good thing, the good news about this, then, is the good news is that it's not an isolated incident. It's not an isolated incident. So it's not just one country. And so, when you have something like this that happens globally, you can kind of look at it and say, okay, solutions and so forth that will be forthcoming has to be applied across the entire landscape. So this is not a country bad management. There's nothing they can control. So you're going to expect a lot of money that's going to be coming out.
Sorry, I didn't know that I was muted. Oh, hello. Okay. Yes, I think William had given a very good data. One of the things that despite the debt, one major challenge right now is how best to defer the debt of the country, and the IMF and the World Bank actually come up with a decision to go about doing that. And realistically, there's no way that whether a strong economy right now, as we're looking at it, in the position to even say address the major emergency right now, at the same time be in a position to pay any debt. So the best solution is to either waive for developing nations, which is the best option out, and the next thing is to be in the position to stimulate the economy. Without that, none of the country will actually be in a position to pay the debt.
But with this global impact, if things continue the way they are, where will even the IMF, World Bank, and all these world financial institutions, where will they get money from if they are waiving these debts? What's going to be that other impact? Because there will be a ripple effect.
Well, you gotta understand that with the big financial markets, right? And this is going to be a very difficult concept for folks sometimes to kind of grasp. But remember, money a lot now is very electronic. It's electronic. So one should never think that the physical aspect of money is going to be something that can be put out there. And I take a step back and you look at the U.S. The U.S. is going to do $2 trillion, right? The U.S. They're going to do a $2 trillion stimulus package, and that's going to be backed by the Treasury and so forth. Well, where are they getting that money from? People look at the U.S. as this major economy, right? But they're going to go out there and it's not the physical aspect saying that, okay, I have to go get it from Paul and then I'm going to lend it to Peter. No, this is the U.S. Treasury and the central bank and the Federal Reserve. They've come together and they said, hey, this is what the stimulus package looks like. We're going to infuse $2 trillion into the economy. But they're not going to China and say, can you give us that $2 trillion? It's a very interesting financial concept.
So
the $50 billion that emergency financing available under the IMF facility is something that obviously is going to go through the same system before that. You make sure that there's what I call rapid credit facility for each country, which of course they had done it before the HIPAA condition. So this one is due to emergency, so it's something that every country will benefit from. But I don't think your question about where the IMF will stand if we go in this position. That's the reason why you have to rescue. The first thing is that if there's money available, financing available for this country, economy will actually jump, and there'll be production, and therefore, in the end, the IMF and the rest of the world will be stable. If the world is not stable, there will be no other option. So the best thing is to rescue. These are rescue option. Yes.
Yeah. Let's come.
Kind of buttress what Depu said as well is that there's always you put out the offer and you're offering these different kind of bonds out there, and so investors look at it, consider the times and everything, and then decide, okay, you know what, I'm gonna buy some of these out there. These are bonds that are available, but something critical in the U.S., even with a lot of the packages that are being offered, understand that they're looking at the investment grade of some of the stuff that they're going to be buying and putting their money in. And at the very low end of the totem pole are startup companies. So startup companies right now, there's nothing available for venture capitalists and private equity and so forth, because they consider high risk. However, there are huge employers in the California area. So, understand that the government right now, they're not so focused on that industry because it's considered a very high risk industry. So what they've been buying a lot of the things that are low risk, good investment grade, and so forth. They've been buying those.
So let's look at the U.S. and the impact. I know, and a lot of things. NBA, all these sporting events closed down. You can't even have a gathering. There's a limit to how many people. So obviously there's an impact. But the way we're dealing with it now is, for instance, my kids are home. They're doing their work online, and a company like Zoom that a lot of people are using, benefiting. And so let's talk about these tools that are available for people to use who has to improvise and deal with this outbreak. Those things are not. So let's look at the economic impact from that standpoint. It's not all bad. Other people are making money as a result.
Yeah. I mean, yes, companies like Zoom, Amazon, there's certain things that they sell because they cover a wide range of like products. You talk about companies like Procter and like Gamble, they're there. You talking about the electricity company, right? We're using electricity. You talking about the phone companies. You talking about there are some industries that definitely they're still making money, but um, remember, these folks still employ only a small percentage of the population in the U.S. The largest employers in the U.S. are small businesses. Can you imagine? Or startup, or not startup, small businesses, mom and pop shops, and so forth, retails, and it's very scary. Let me give you an example in an already challenging market. So as you know, a lot of the purchases are shift to online, and running a mall has become very expensive. And a lot of the malls, they were operating with high leverage debts, and a lot of them, their investment grades were a little bit low. So you have CBL Properties, which is a Tennessee-based mall company. They operated about 91 malls. Now, already before coronavirus, malls were challenged, and they had a hard time refinancing two mortgages last year. Now they had a credit facility of over 200 and something $1 million. And what they did is that they drew down on that credit facility. Let me tell you what I mean. What I mean is that they basically went, they had a credit card, and the credit card gave them the ability to tap 260 something $1 million. So what they did, they went and they pulled that money out, and they're holding on to it. And imagine, no one is going to the malls. They're already in a struggling state, and there's no stimulus for them. Okay, the stimulus isn't available because I told you before that the government, the stuff that the government is putting a stimulus behind, the mall area is not something that right now at the moment they are considering. But this is big because the mall employ a lot of folks, retails and so forth. So this is like a slow avalanche that is kind of happening, right? Another industry is the mortgage industry. That $2 trillion package doesn't include mortgages at all. And a lot of the mortgage-backed securities. That means people who buy these mortgages, right? Because they say that this is low risk, people are going to pay. Well, right now, the government has said, or has been floating out there, is that hey, don't your mortgage payment, make it if you can, but if you don't, it's not going to have a big consequences. So right now, the mortgage industry, they're going to Congress to let them know, like, hey, if you do that for about 3 months, that's $40 billion, which pales in comparison to $500 billion for the airline industry, right? And so forth. But there hasn't been anything for the mortgage companies. And remember, in the U.S., the reason why this country has been so powerful is that regardless of the rough time, difficult times, and so forth, investors always see them as being able to pay their debt. And so, these guys are working ferociously to try to figure out what type of solutions they can they can have. So in the U.S. wise, you have the layoffs, you have people who are going to turn to unemployment and so forth. So it's going to be a little bit dusty. It's like the sandstorm. It's going to take about maybe 4 or 5 months for all of this stuff to kind of settle. And in the second half, we'll be talking about some pointers that we can use to take advantage.
And Depu, let me bring you in on this. I talk about the facilities here, but in Liberia, we don't have those. People are not going to stay inside because there's no there's no electricity, there's no plumbing in there, so they have to come out. People have to go out to buy their daily food. Uh, Kids are staying home from school, but there is no online learning. They don't have Chromebooks to bring home and communicate with their teachers. So let's start with the economic impact on that level when it comes to Liberia and other African countries.
Yes, me, before I go to that, I would like to just go on what William was talking about. The interesting thing about it, the online business, that's one of the reasons why Amazon, as we speak right now, Amazon is in the position. Amazon has actually expanded its operation and have been giving like 100,000 jobs because people are staying home. Most of the shopping centers are now ordering through Amazon, and people buying, doing their purchases, everything online. And those who actually own like a mall and the rest of the places are now just sitting and not receiving customers. So we should expect a higher hit from them. So the online business is going to be it's going to be a new deal. In fact, besides Amazon, you see Walmart, the rest of the stores are now trying to see how best they can go online. And that's one thing that, for me, I would say that those of us, Liberian or immigrants in developed country like the United States, it's about time now you go into the IT world to really change career and see how best to get involved with this kind of opportunity. Now, with having said that, the situation with Liberia for me,
Depu, before we even get to Liberia, I just want us to drill down a little bit on that because of the online you talk about. Just give you an example. Amazon, I ordered a book today, and it's the latest is going to arrive is April 19, meaning everybody's ordering online, so because you don't want to go physically in the store to buy anything.
That's how come now you gotta be looking. If it's a free order, that itself is gonna have a longer time. If you don't want a free delivery, you're gonna go pay extra cost so that you can have it delivered on time. So that's a business. That's another. And that means did you pay for the freight, or you just the order itself? Okay, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. So once you say free delivery, it's gonna give you 2 weeks always. So free delivery goes to 2 weeks option, which is what normal even said before this, 10 days before this whole crisis.
No, this one is not free. The $8 is April 19. If you want free delivery, is April 26.
Okay. Yeah, that means there's a high demand now on the online businesses. And that's one of the reasons why I'm saying that many people need now to get involved into online business to actually have access and do internet transaction. So Amazon is now increasing it, stepping up its recruitment as fast as possible. So that's one of the things and many parents are ordering books online right now because of the online school. So what you're going to be seeing there too is that the demand for that will also increase. And I would think that besides Amazon, there will be other companies that will start up. That's why I was telling many people it will not just be online, Amazon, but there will be an opportunity for other Americans to think that, okay, I can do delivery besides Amazon. So you can have, besides the postal services, individual firm can come up and also compete in the business. Or Amazon can now start to outsource. In fact, what Amazon has done now, they have a three tier of their business now. They got a flex, which take the drivers that go around. Then they got delivery partners that someone own a share and say, you know what, you're going to take one certain city and you be the one to deliver, and they pay you for that. And they themselves to do the delivery, like what they call the prime delivery, they themselves do it. So it's something, it also creates job. It's the chain, value chain and value addition. So something that will be an opportunity in this kind of a crisis to respond to it. As the demand for goods and services increase on online purchases, there will also be an opportunity for job creation in that area.
And online teaching as well, because people are doing lessons online preaching, virtual congregation.
Yes, obviously online, everything is going online. And now there was a question that a friend of mine asked from Liberia yesterday, and she said, you guys, I'm worried about you guys, and we stay communicating on Facebook and WhatsApp and the rest of the thing. Are you guys thinking, what if this viral thing hit to the extent that the internet is a crash? What will happen? And I said, that is unimaginable for now, but I think that is a very sensitive question. So what would be the next action? And I said, I don't know. She said, no, I'm just worried because everyone is just going wild because the internet information is everywhere. You get everything online. What if the online information is a block? But we think that it's an opportunity, it's a new world, it's a millennium change that we need to accept it, that everything is becoming global and connected through our internet. Now, now we come to education, Liberia. What a Liberian school system, some of them doing. In fact, like my kids, right? They call me today. I have to buy some data for them to go online too. That their teachers have given them material, and some of the material they didn't know how to complete it. So what they do now is say go online.
Hey, Depu, are you saying that you're sending money back to Liberia?
Oh, obviously, I still charge and send money and do everything. Yeah. So the kids will have to they have to study from home. So you have to give them a study schedule and do everything with them. First of all, to have that self-discipline on when to study and how to respond to all the questions that are given them. So that's another thing that parents, Liberian parents, now need to get used to. That some people never used to have time for their kids, what their children learn at school, what kind of teacher they interact with. But now the responsibility has come back. You know, it gets to a point where many parents are shifting their responsibility to teachers in school. They ask for disciplinary action, you know, tutorial, and the rest of it have been handled by schools in Liberia. Now it is time now that parents themselves take the responsibility, and they have to shoulder it to say, you know what, I'm gonna sit with you today to do your assignment. You got to do your homework. So parents will have to discipline themselves and have a time discipline have to also be there. If you are doing let's say 13 courses in senior high, 13 subjects in senior high, you're supposed to go for WAS, even though they have adjusted the time. You still have to study until school opens. Why, if school doesn't open and until let's say May, what will happen? It means that you'll readjust the WAS schedule, and when you get on campus, you're not going to go back to the period that you've already lost in the places that you not covered. So it's good for parents to get involved with it now, and teachers themselves to also get online now to talk to parents. I will also suggest that that's one of the stimulus package that the government of Liberia need to introduce now, is to now contact the internet company, the service provider in the country, to give them some relief and see how best to boost the signal, because many people now will be using the internet. And the cost of internet in Liberia actually increased. So they will have to go back to the place where either the 3 days, they have to go back to the 3 days option and other things, so that people can have access to call internet services and scratch card to do their homework, for parents to do their work.
Mr. King, you can conclude on that, and then we go to our financial tip on the economic impact and what are some of the ramifications of this coronavirus on all aspects of daily living in Liberia.
To buttress a little bit to what Depu said, we have certain things in Liberia right now that are going for us, certain things that are going against us. One is that we don't have a huge investment in places like malls. We don't have huge investments, which is good for now, because we're coming into this space where the focus in terms of getting goods and displaying them, you're going to see a huge change from the brick and mortar stores to a lot of things being done online, and maybe having major warehouses or supply centers. Now, whether we as Liberians can take advantage of that will be left for us to see how it goes. Something important, I don't know if most of our viewers can recollect, but about maybe 3 months ago or so, we had on here a expert PhD guy with who actually spoke about internet, online, and so forth, Dr. Lionel Bernard, and I think he did mention that I think for Liberia to become wired internet throughout is about maybe $60 to $80 million. That is nothing. I hope really our government could kind of see this need, really, because it's going to help the economy for a lot of folks, and we're not even talking. We just focus on the economy. So I want to stay there. I just want to stay in that lane.
It's important you brought that up, because even when we did a show here on electricity, the experts that we brought on, they say, well, in Liberia, what we heard is roll from Vice President Joseph Newman Boakai to now President George Manu Weah. Roll. But what's about electricity, or internet? Because there's a lot of things that electricity can do in the remotest part of Liberia. Let's say if you are in Dukoh Free in Sino County or Fisibu in Lofa County, where even you may not have road, but you can connect with me if you have internet or electricity, and you can transact international business. You can be on the stock market. You can do a whole lot of things with internet. Now we have a coronavirus that we don't even need to get on the road. So
we don't, and it's gonna take a lot of. It's gonna take a big step. It's gonna take a big challenge for of course, for our government to step up, because there's going to be stimulation. We may get some debt waivers. We may get a lot of things in there. And I think once we sit down as a whole, whether it's government or us as Liberians, we have to really reach deep, because don't forget, Dennis, as much as the things are going on in Liberia, remember, we Liberians in the diaspora, a lot of the jobs that we have, a lot of it's not being impacted by the coronavirus, because a lot of us are in the healthcare or in certain sectors and so forth that we still generating something, and so right now you're gonna see things are gonna get a little bit cheaper to get some services we'll be able to buy for a lot cheaper cost. So this is a time of self-reflection and us looking deeper and seeing that, hey, how can we take advantage of these situations for Liberia? We couldn't afford the person who was asking $80,000 or $90,000 for that salary, but now they're asking $60,000. And so some of the things we want to do for Liberia, how can we take advantage, and how can our government communicate that to us? So it's something that is left to be seen. But for right now, we are a resilient people, and we always adjusting. But we have to make sure at least that there's food, there's a constant supply of food, whether it's free or it can be grown or whatever it is, because we don't want to run into a situation where we run out of food.
Let me read some comments, and then when we come back, we're going to talk about some financial tips. What do we do? Even the little food we had, everything is running out. Even in the U.S., first to the kids it looked like a stay-home party, but now reality setting in. They can work 2-3 weeks online schooling and all that. So what do we do financially? But let me read some comments. The first one is from Mark Freeman. About the Liberian economy, we are not in the digital world, so when people are staying home, how would they work from home when 75% of the population does not have internet such as Wi-Fi? Musu Stewart say every individual who lives in a wealthy economy should have an emergency plan that includes money. You know, if you in a wealthy economy like this, but most of us are hand to mouth, so every month you have to go on a farm.
Musu is above that.
Yeah. So, and Musu also say when we're talking about now people are home, she's saying you can identify your gifts and begin to monetize your skills. Stop doing free and ask people to pay for your services. Dave Jha is asking, Liberians have experienced the Ebola epidemic. Why are there no Liberians from back in Liberia providing some expert information for the world? Instead of the likes of Dr. Coleman spreading money, he is distributing donator marks to senators in Liberia. How can Liberians be innovative and make money? These are some of the comments. Keep your questions coming, and if you want to call in, the number is posted. That's it's posted on both on the screen. That's 605-313-6004. The code is 791403 to join the discussion. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia Marketplace. We are discussing the economic impact of the coronavirus and providing some financial tips. So let's start with some financial tips.
Who you want to go first? You want me to go? Dennis? Okay, Depu, you want to take it first, or you want me to go?
Yeah, you can take a lead, but let me just before I leave, let me say this before. Dennis, I think when it comes to financial tips right now in terms of a household, family level, quite frankly, this is a time now that people discuss about finances, how to manage it better. The first thing that there is that there are many families, besides what the job will give you in terms of 401k, that many people have investment, and not many people have their own IRA account and say, this is what I have for myself, for my family. So it's important, if you don't have any of these now, these are things that you need to consider. Now, it means that the limited income that you have, which is now from paycheck to paycheck, you will now have to make a decision on how to spend and what spending should be done carefully. The first thing now, in terms of priority for financial, personal finances, as for me, the first priority will be food. The next thing will be health expenditure. Food and health expenditure at this time will be more important than any other expenditure that you think about. So that's why in your own financial planning, you want to now look at the contribution of your income, how much go to your transportation, how much go to your food, how much actually go to utility. So these are things that people need to now sit down and discuss better at home. Instead of now, the Liberians, I will say to people back in Liberia that this is the most difficult period. First, when there's a crisis like Ebola crisis, people in the United States were able to save money and send back home. Now you have a situation where the epicenter of the disease is now turning to the United States. Then what happened? It began a serious challenge for those who are actually not only Liberia, the entire developing nation, because majority of their people live in the Western economy and depend on it. So now they have to, readjust their own lifestyle, their eating pattern. So what are some of the basic things that Liberians themselves need to be doing now is to look at priorities. What are some of the key things that you need to look at? The food and health expenditure. These are very important.
Thank you. We have a caller on the line, so hold your thought there. Let me bring on the caller. And as a Musu Stewart, you are live.
Good afternoon, focus on Liberia. Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon, Musu.
Good afternoon.
Okay, so I just wanted to, share my thoughts. This topic is very interesting to me. This is something that I'm very passionate about. And I'd like to say here, as you can see in my last comment, we as Liberians need to first rise above what we think is happening right now. From what I know, Liberians love to be involved in politics. Politics draws Liberians. But at the end of the day, we are experiencing extreme poverty. How do we get ourselves out of poverty? To get out of poverty, you have to tell yourself that, I have to move away from all of this and find my own way.
Yeah.
So until we can begin to change that mindset, and I will talk about us Liberians in the diaspora. I think the Liberians in the diaspora can help Liberians at home to begin to shift their minds by doing things that will encourage them to be entrepreneurs. Someone was talking about online businesses. It's not impossible. You don't need a government to help you start an online business. Yes, you will need stable internet, you will need stable electricity, but what can you do? Start from where you are. I see a lot of wasted talent on Facebook among Nigerians. Wasted talent. They have skills that they are giving away for free. If they can begin to charge for those services, reorganize themselves, refocus, I think they will do a lot, and then they in turn will be examples for the Liberians in Liberia. So we have to start from here and teach our Liberians at home who may not know how online business works or how being an entrepreneur works. They can learn from us, and then we can, tell them this is what you do in order to move away from poverty. But all Liberians know in Liberia is politics. Look at it online, the talk shows online. Everything is politics. Everything is politics. Nobody talks about how can you, build wealth.
Yeah.
Nobody is talking wealth building. But we all cry about being poor. We are poor in Liberia. Oh, my people, no money, no money. I've lived in Liberia during the entire civil conflict. I know what it took me to earn a penny a day. I used that mindset in order to survive. And when I came to the U.S., that mindset came with me. So we can begin to help Liberians by teaching them how they can make money, but first they have to change the way they think about money. You know, you have to change the way you think about money in order to make money.
Yeah.
You can use money as a tool to build wealth, you know, but you will have to change the way you see money and think about money. So that's why I wanted to contribute, and I hope that people listening will begin to think about using that skill. Identify your skills. If you need help, reach out to people and say, I want to do this. How can I do it? You know, but we have to shift our mind from politics, and begin to see how we can go below that or above that and begin to build our own life.
Musu, before you go, because I know you stressed that, and that's us. Why do you think it's so? Why is it that most people are in politics and we're not trying to build, as you said, and the interest is in politics? And I told someone, I said the two topics that sell on social media, politics and the G's and fries. So why is that, and how can we shift that mindset? How can someone like you who has that way of thinking and the expertise be of any help?
I will tell you one thing that I do right now. I have helped few Liberian women just by giving them little tips on how they can change things to improve the little businesses they're doing. It all comes down to the mindset.
Yeah.
You see, when people live in poverty for a long time, like most people most Liberians who are here are immigrants. They came from a place of poverty. So when they come to the U.S., they see all this affluence and they say, oh my goodness. So rather than thinking, oh, let me humble myself and try to create a better life for myself coming from, you know, a place of poverty,
yeah,
they want everything. They want everything. So in order for us to do that, those of us Liberians who, you know, I'm not the best. I know we have other Liberians who have managed to live above the fray in the U.S. We can begin to promote ourselves on social media, not in a way that will let people think that, oh, I'm trying to say I'm rich and you are poor. No. We begin to send messages. If you look at most of my Facebook posts, I post about changing your mindset. I do videos about identifying your gifts. That's my way of helping people. How many people watch those videos?
Yeah.
Maybe 100. You know?
Yeah.
So it's all going to be us having community gatherings. And some of these talk show hosts should begin also to incorporate financial education into their talk shows.
Yep.
That's how we can help the people.
And Musu,
You know, for instance, the Costa Show can begin to say we'll have a section on finance today, like Focus on Liberia is doing. Steve Kennedy can say, I will do a section on finance today. That's how you begin to get people to change. You tell them that it's not all about politics.
yeah.
If you become wealthy, do you really need a government? No, the government needs you. You know?
Yeah.
So that's how we can begin to do it. Help the people by incorporating financial education into all of these thousands of talk show programs on Facebook.
Right. When they do that, they will lose audience. But let me announce here that next Saturday we're going to have personal finance right here on Focus on Liberia. An expert is going to come here and tell you, you know, what you need to do when it comes to your finances. You know, it's a good thing to take all the money and go Liberia to build a house that you may probably never live in. And and then, but here you don't even have health insurance. And
Exactly.
so yeah, so we're going to be doing personal finance. But thank you so much, Musu, for your time.
Musu, Dennis, wait. Musu, stay on for a second.
Oh my goodness. Yes, hi, William.
Hi. I want to give you good advice, okay? I want
Go ahead.
That thing about you talk about changing the mindset. What I want to do, since we love politics, Liberia, everybody show up. I think you could market the show as how to change Wea and Costa mindset. Everybody.
Oh my goodness.
And then we have a good time, and then we just flip it on them, you know. Thank you so much.
But on a serious note, it's a very serious problem. I've seen it in the Liberian community. I see people get thrown out of their apartments and their homes. and you try to call them and mentor them. And after a few months, as soon as they get back on their feet, they go back to the same way they were living. So it's a mindset thing, and if we want to help them, we have to keep talking about these things.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Mm-hmm.
Let me bring you another caller. Caller from 571 area code. Your name and where you calling from?
Hi, this is Eastman calling from Washington, D.C.
That's our man Jimmy Eastman. Welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Yeah, I listened though. I was paying
attention, but I didn't participate. How you doing?
Good.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
The topic today, the economic impact of coronavirus on Liberia.
And financial tips.
And financial tips.
Yeah.
Well, we have, if you look at the composition of the country, we have a majority of the population is under 30.
Not only we have a lot of youth potential, that can be seriously developed. But if you're going to do business, you have to look at two ways. You have to look at where the consumption is, okay, and what are the means of production. The consumption, in Liberia now, we're importing everything we eat, we consume. So I think we have to focus on local production of the things we eat. I think everybody has to have at least a little garden, if nothing, because that's where most of the exodus of the egress of all the money is leaving the country, because just to buy food, just to buy everyday food, if we don't put that even under control, will be difficult to do anything else. The other thing, I heard the program yesterday about how Firestone, the introduction of Firestone, kind of crippled the economy. And I was in agreement, because before the introduction of Firestone, Liberia was into coffee, we're into various agricultural products. But because we gave more attention to the production of rubber, and for really little of nothing, because if those people are compensating the workers adequately, then we would not have had to force them to labor. We had to encourage forced labor because of the draconian terms Firestone brought to us. We couldn't get nothing. Why would you have to force a multi-corporation, people to work for a multi-corporation, if they were paying the people a decent salary? So, everything was geared toward producing rubber. And rubber the production of rubber does not do well for the soil. So we kind of crippled our economy by catering to the demands of this one cash crop, rubber. And the rubber we produced was pure latex, and it didn't go through any of the stages of production. There was no value added from our point. Had we at least processed this rubber and made some intermediate products, that would have even been a benefit. But just the pure latex leaving the country did not benefit us very much. We weren't getting paid very much. Our people were not compensated for their labor very much. So it wasn't a good deal. And you kind of wonder why we took such a deal. Well, their backs was against the wall. But more importantly, they were not ingenious enough to go back to the soil and try to produce on their own.
Thank you.
You know, at least if you can produce what you consume, that is the start. So, and my tip for any Liberians, we need to start produce what we consume. What we consume, we have to produce. Well, if we're going to eat rice, we have to produce rice, or we have to produce a crop that can be exchanged for rice.
Okay.
You know?
Thank you, Jimmy.
And with our and I introduced the last thing I just wanted to say, the youth. The youth are formidable. Because they're young, you can train them.
Yeah.
I believe in education, but sometimes training is all you really need for the stage we are in now. We need more training than higher education, because we have to start the industries up. And industries don't necessarily require higher education, but they require skilled labor.
Yeah.
So I think focusing on skills now will be a step in the right direction.
Thank you, Jimmy. I don't think William will agree with you on the Firestone thing, but because William says 6 cents per acre is better than what Marcus Garvey was proposing, because Marcus Garvey was just all big talk. But let's leave it at that. So let me go back to William.
Thank you, Dennis. Definitely. You leave the ground open, which I always love, with the idea that on our show we can have another conversation about that. So one of the things I want to say is that if you are in the U.S. and you live within the U.S. economy, one of the things is that even in these times, is that if you need to adjust certain costs, as far as, let's say your light bill is $100 and you can only afford to pay 30 or $40 right now, is you have to communicate. So communicate with your utility company, communicate with your mortgage company, communicate with your credit card companies. Don't just go in the black hole. Don't don't do that. Call them, let them know, and if you can send a little bit of payment on your credit cards, send a little bit. Also, consult a professional credit consultant if you feel that you're going to be falling behind on certain payments, and they will probably give you more advice. But the one thing is to um, call utility companies, call all of them, and let them know. And they won't cut your bill or anything like that. So communicate that. The other thing is, be patient right now. Don't be too quick to jump on opportunities that requires you to put in a significant amount of money. So just be patient. Also understand that the stimulus package and so forth that's coming from the from the White House, from the government. Please understand that these these people, they're this is something new to them. They've never experienced something like this before. And so the different stimulant packages they're going to be coming out with uh, um, is going to take some time for them to kind of really be fully in tune to what those solutions and the implications of them are. So be smart, think about things that are happening, think through it all, and don't rely fully wholeheartedly on politicians and so forth, because even them at this moment, they're still trying to figure out and gauge certain things. The US economy is very complex with so many variables. So you have to be aware of that and understand that sometimes certain areas might be overlooked that might impact you. So be mindful of that. Healthcare, too, of course, with the Obama healthcare, you want to call if you're experiencing some kind of layoff and there's going to be a reduction in your pay. Don't go into the hole. Call call your healthcare provider or call the state provider that you use and let them know what you're experiencing and so forth. Get that in. Lastly, this stimulus package, one of the things I saw in there was that it relies heavily on whether you file your taxes or not. So if you haven't filed your taxes for 2019 or whatever, please speak with your tax advisor and see if that's going to make you a priority to receive those payments or not. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. Now, one of the things that's easier, is a little bit easier to have this conversation with us Liberians, is because we know what it means, or we've experienced what it means to have gone through difficult times. So we are a resilient people, and so please just don't panic, do not stress. The worst thing that can happen is you lose 40% on your 401k, and you go into hypertension, high blood pressure, and stuff like that. Please, your health is very important. Financial losses happens to everyone. I don't care how smart you are. It happens to everyone. So please do not stress about that. That's gonna burden by some kind of a health issue. So stay positive, read, hang out, spend some good time with the family at home, call people on the phone, and do not panic at all. It's just finance, and it will always get a chance to make it back. Thank you.
What are some of the things that we can buy now? What are some of the things that we can wait? Can this time people are looking at, say, oh, okay, maybe the housing market is going to go down. So can I buy a house now? Can I do an investment? What can I look at to say, well, it looked like this market is going to be good, so let me put my money in this place or that place. Well, right now I would just, worry only about food. I don't even have to do my hair, or I don't even have to get a haircut. What are some of the things we can do now, financially? What can we spend on or don't spend money on?
That's an interesting question. To be very frank, that's why I said earlier in terms of priority ranking, if you really know that but for me, especially with a family that is a little bit worthy in terms of income wise, it's about time now you learn to cautiously spend your money at home. But at the same time, many Liberians don't do this. In fact, I would say yes, I never used to have interest in it. But it's about time now you actually be online and try to, investigate more information about acquiring assets. You look at the stock market right now. Yeah, gone bad of. People are all worried about it, but it's time for you to take risks and say, you don't know what, let me go buy some share right now for companies that you look at and read. Sometimes their profit look very good, sometimes consistent. You look at that, you go into that conservatively, put some cash in there. Not all you could do it. Not saying that you should withdraw it. And from there, you can also look at the housing market. To be very frank, the information about zero interest rate from the federal government. We don't know how the mortgage market will respond now. Let's say a month from now, you want to do a saving to see if you've been renting and know fully well that you have had challenge with your credit, try to improve your credit. And this is an opportunity for people to actually own a home for those who have better income. You can't just rush into home ownership because you feel that the interest rate is low and the market is good. But you also want to take into consideration your payment opportunity in terms of how much you earn. So these are some of the things that we know we need to be looking at right now. And I'll still go back to the point I said that it's about time for people to go into online business. Online opportunity is big. It's a big thing that is coming on now. You without you going to work, You can just do few courses online. You know, there's a website that myself I doing my studies. Sometimes I go back and just subscribe to some courses like Udemy. And let me just say this, you know, it was for Coursera.org, but Coursera sometimes you have to pay some more money. But Udemy is, if you know, say www.udemy, Udemy, and it's something very much cheaper that you can go there and get certificate course, you do it and get your certification, and you can, you know, improve your skill. But these are some of the major tips that we need to have now as Liberians or immigrants to see how best to explore the market. But I think it's about time that those who have money to also take risks. Those who don't have, make sure you spend in line with your priority, and don't be rushing to purchase. Always do search. Let me be very frank with you. Be searching online, and you can have the cheapest price from 3-4 entities. You can do everything online without you wasting your time to walk down the store. You can go right now and say, I'm going to check Walmart, I'm going to check Home Depot. So all these places, you can search for the least price in terms of purchases.
Thank you. Few comments again. Musu Stewart said no big purchases for now. Where Brian said food is the most important and stay away from people. Sweetie Shop say you should do proper budgeting. And one more comment here from, I think that is, let me go back on Facebook. Yes, Sweetie Shop Josiah, right now should be a standstill on big purchases such as buying homes, cars, but life still goes on and encourages everyone to continue to take care of themselves. And Musu also say you can teach yourself. Many free platforms out there to start, and one of those is YouTube University. You know, I remember I had a Toyota 4Runner. I didn't even know how to change the bulb at the back there. The rear end bulb blew up, and police pulled me over. And when I look at it, the whole thing is just smooth. How do I take it off? And I went on YouTube. This was like many years ago. So everything is on YouTube. So at this time, you can do a lot on YouTube. And let me see that maybe you have been looking at some professional certification, and now you're home. This is the time that you take advantage of that. Let's get more tips from my
Thank you, Dennis. I think one of the examples that I can give is just from a personal experience right now. I was in the middle of a renovation of a apartment of a unit, and when this whole thing happened, and I just kept going and just keep the guys going with the project, finding the right bargain, finding the right deal to keep the project going to finish it up. And it's a cost. And in this economic uncertainty right now, all the difficult was to kind of look forward and say, okay, I think I still need to keep going, although I'm going at a slower pace. So some of the things that folks have in mind to do, and they were doing, and it's probably slowed down or not to a crawl, is to not be discouraged. In that, right now it's just a temporary situation. Maybe whether it's a year or like 2 years. I think I still stay in the space of every day move a little bit forward. Every day move a little bit forward, and before you know it, you'll be where you're supposed to be financially too. Also, now those who have been laid off, once again, like I said, it's very important more than anything else is, um, just be honest with yourself, know your limitations, know that this is temporary, and please, we don't stress that enough amongst Liberians. Please do not stress, do not panic, because this is not the time to get.
Hear me?
Am I back now? Okay. So I was just gonna say that, um, you know, Dennis, maybe, I'm sure we've been having shows, I think, about some of the psychological impact with coronavirus and so forth, with the experts from the health side, right? Um, so please do not. I don't care how smart you are, whether you made a financial decision and it didn't pan out, you lost 90%, whatever it is, please, that's okay. It will be made back. Do not let that get into a health situation.
Jimmy, you are still online. You have any last thing to say before you go? Jimmy, do you have any final word before you leave?
I do have finally, given a limited budget, or given it the situation that you do not have income coming in, you have to enter what we call survival mode. And only things that are essential to your survival is what you will focus on. So as much as you want to pay bills, if you have limited funds, then you have to negotiate those bills to be paid at a later date. The idea is you have to have food to eat, and you will have to have certain essentials to make it day by day. So any bills should be negotiated for later payment, and it's easy right now. You can talk to your mortgage people, you can talk to your utility corporations. Everybody is postponing bills for now. But your money should be reserved for your medicines or your food, or only those things essential for your day-to-day. We, just like you just said, we would get by, but the things we need to do is to survive. We Liberians, we've seen war, and the most essential thing it comes down to is having enough food to survive every day. And if you should get sick, have medicine or money to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Those are the most essential things. Other than that, we just gotta bear the time. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Jimmy. Depu, your last word on this.
Yes, I will encourage our citizens at home to actually prepare themselves for the situation we find ourselves. But equally so, I want to caution us because many Liberians always feel, we survive from Ebola, so
Corona is not something to worry about. Yes, I said that are you hearing me now? I said, I just want to caution our people in Liberia, to be specific, besides those that are here in the United States, to be very careful, because many people think that, they feel now because, I survived Ebola, so Corona is not anything. We've been there before. And these are two different scenarios. One thing that is clear in this case is that we were in the situation, 3 countries in the whole of Africa. The rest of Africa, ECOWAS came to our aid, Africa came to our aid, and the global world came. But this situation is the reverse. We have smaller cases for now, which people think is small, but I think it's bigger because they have not been testing down. But the places that we consider to be our sources of income, these places are hard hit. Therefore, Liberians should now learn how to manage the little food, money that relative or friends will give them. It's about time to know how to manage food and how to manage money and how to take care of the family. Because hunger is very much difficult to control. Illness is something that controllable depending on your income, especially in Liberia. So I want to encourage them. People should stay away from gathering. I know many people think, oh, we have faith, we trust God. You should pray at home and fast at home, and the prayer can connect with each other. And the main thing that there is the heart, that we should do it with the same mind. We can pray from our home and God can hear us as people instead of going to go assemble. I listened to, I read a video this today. It says the Liberian musical group going somewhere and they're singing. And realistically, no one has been able to test in Liberia that people stay away from these things. I think it's important for us to do that. Besides that, the challenge that we're going to have now, parents, is the issue of the children's education. Children's education now, if you want the best for your children, it's about time that the parents take this time to teach their children and stay with them. Even if you don't know how to teach them, you don't understand the lesson, but do a schedule and make sure that they are sitting home and doing their study. So these are very much important why we do that. For us in the Western country, I know there are many opportunities we have choice to make to either stay home or to go to work, but it's good to also protect yourself and your family. Thank you.
Thank you, Depo. And that is very important. And I saw a group of about 500 person say they were in church in Liberia. They say, we'll die for Jesus. No, that's unbiblical. You can't die for Jesus that way. You die for Jesus by going in the missionary field. You don't go in church and say you're dying for Jesus. So if you were evangelizing in areas that maybe the gospel has not reached, and you say we're going to make it, we're going to preach, then you're making sense. But the same people that go to church every day, you are congregating against the advice of the healthcare people, and you're saying you die for Jesus, that's complete nonsense. People should not misinterpret the Bible and do things that are not wise. The Bible says we should be as wise as serpent. That's how wise we should be. It said, be slow to speak, but we should be wise as serpent. So if you are not observing the health protocols, you are considered foolish. And the Bible frowns on people like that. So nobody in Liberia should take those kind of things and say, well, this is church. In fact, someone posted on Facebook, said, when they closed schools, there was no noise. But when they said, do not go to church, people started to make it like, oh, you are stopping God. Just like the same thing they say in the United States. Oh, they put God out of the school because somebody said we should not pray, say the prayer in school, as a group. That is taking God out of school. That's a lie. God is a big God. You cannot put him out of school. If you as an individual, you pray, you can even talk to your classmate one-on-one about Jesus. So nobody is putting God out of school in America. And nobody is stopping God in Liberia by telling you not to congregate. I heard Senator or Pastor Prince Johnson trying to say, oh, you want to stop God? You are the word. No, it doesn't go that way. Let's stop it and observe all the health protocols. William, your last word.
What to say, just that the folks who are watching this show, this is the economic, where we talk business, economic, and so forth. These are the times that we are in. It's going to be tough financially. Look, you're going to get your line of credit. Those of you who had line of credits, home equity, you're thinking, I got 100K, 200K. all those things. Remember, all those things, they can get cut temporarily and so forth. So just brace yourself, continue to stay focused, use this time indoors uh, to educate yourself on different things, different practices, and this too shall pass. And excuse me, I agree with Dennis that please, people, churches and so forth, especially if at your church you know that a lot of the people who come to your church are nurses and doctors. They work in that kind of industry. Then you going there. So please just be thoughtful about this. Thank you to all of our listeners, commentators, and so forth. Really
Are
appreciate
you discriminating against the nurses so early?
No, not at all. I just know in the U.S. our churches are filled with our Nigerian brothers and sisters. Most of them are nurses, doctors, because they're smart, right? So yeah.
Okay, sorry. This is our regular caller, so we want to give him the opportunity to say something. Mr. Amos Josh, you are live. Amos Josh. Oh, sorry. Amos Josh, you are live.
Yes, sir. Yeah. I think you know my position. People know those who don't know my position. In Liberia, I posted something today, and I urged the government to close churches and mosques for 3 weeks strictly. Because what I saw those people demonstrating in the street of Morovia was completely nothing. Putting other people left at risk in the name of Jesus Christ. No, it's not in the name of Jesus Christ. It's in the name of collecting those people tithes from them. Because if you love those people, you would definitely tell them this is serious. Look at the Western world. I did a short video that I have on downtown Atlanta, taking the tour of the city. Everything was going in Liberia to see how the city has been deserted. And churches are standing up to say, you want to infringe on the rights? No. These bishops, these pastors in Liberia, these people are criminal minded and want to use this occasion to get richer. They are not concerned about those congregations. What they are concerned about is the pocket. And let me say this. Anyone can take it when you want to take it. My name is Stephen Stewart. I'm seeing, and today I just read something. The bishop now saying that churches must close. But what people are waiting for? This is nonsense. You cannot challenge the government on this. The government, we know the problem. But the government is not using it to sanction the mosque or the church. It's in the name of safety. You can stay home and pray. The Lord will accept your prayer. Look at the conditions. But you put people in the street and challenging the authority. I said, if I were in Liberia, having a position of a police director, I would have worked those people in the street.
Thank you.
Or collect the pastor and lock him up. You cannot do so. So let me urge my people.
Yeah.
Be serious. The greatest country on earth is challenged. It's what's up for you. Let people abide by what the experts are saying. Let them listen to international media, the wire. Let them see what is going on. It's no joke. Liberia is challenged in every area, hospital, whatever is challenged. It's not time to play with this thing here. So then I just want to say thank you for the information that you two are giving out there. I just want to add my little voice. I'm with the government enforcing this thing. I don't care whoever you want to disobey, you should bear some punishment for it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amos. So, gentlemen, we've come to the end of the show. So, William, you were talking. If you can just conclude your final thoughts, and then we can close the broadcast.
I think Amos said it well. Want to thank all of our viewers, listeners. Please tune in. Dennis will be giving you a schedule for what to expect tomorrow. We have another show. So we look forward to everyone tuning in. And Dennis, seems like we have another challenge. We're going to be talking about Firestorm. So, I'll be letting you know. Let me know when we can come together and we can schedule that and to talk about the Firestone deal.
Thank you, William. So this evening at 7 o'clock, a new National Election Commission boss has been nominated. The whole group hearing started yesterday. So this evening at 7 o'clock, and his name is Nambusi Nabodike. So at 7 p.m. we're going to be talking about the appointment of the new National Election Commission boss, Councillor Nabodike. In the face of the dual citizenship bill, that's a Proposition 1, and also the state of our integrated institutions, because Councillor Nabodike naturalized a Nigerian Liberian, because a Nigerian naturalized in Liberia, was first appointed to head the Good Governance Commission. He headed the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission for 2 months, and now he's being sent to the Election Commission. So who's this guy, and what does his appointment mean? We'll be discussing that with our political panel, Mr. Wilmot Cooney, Dr. Batom Kula, Samse To, and my man Ansoni Sia will be here asking them the tough political questions. So please tune in. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. we're going to have a health talk. The title is Chronic Diseases. There are some chronic diseases, the common ones. We want to talk about the symptoms, the signs, how you can deal with that, you can manage them, how you can prevent them. So we're going to have some experts or health practitioners coming here, including a doctor and a physical therapist from Liberia will be joining us. So until then, on behalf of all of us here at Focus on Liberia, we want to say thank you so much for joining us. From all of us, it's see you later, goodbye, and God bless.
We are Liberia. Liberia is our home. Liberia people. Liberia, Liberia, Liberia,